Would you like to go out in the woods and cut your own trees and bring them in and turn them into lumber in your shop? Well, stick around, I'll show you how. It's that time of year. I like to wander out in the woods aimlessly and scout out trees to cut down for the fall's building when we make our fall furniture and through the winter. Well, not really.
Do we do that?
No, I never do that, actually. I buy it all kiln dried, like most of you, and I rarely cut my own wood because it's a lot of work, and you realize what the settlers went through and how great and hardy a people they were. But there's those times when you might have a tree come down on your property. You might have something, maybe your neighbor, or you get a log around the neighborhood or whatever, and you want to turn it into material for a potential project. Well, I want to share with you a little experience I've had recently, and it has to do with a white pine tree that came down actually probably just about 60 feet out the back of the shop. And it blew over, and the whole root ball of, it's kind of flat, was over like that, but it was a good sized tree and it was pretty straight with no branches for a ways. So I chopped it up, and to be honest, I let it lay there for far too long. But I did chunk it up into some lengthy sections, thinking, you know, I might play around with this and make some drawer sides or something like that. You're really nodding on this.
I am. I'm nodding.
Are you into it?
I'm into it.
That's not like, hurry up. You're dragging on this story a little like you usually do. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right. So I've got these logs out there, and I noticed them the other day, and I thought, oh yeah, I've got that from last fall. I've got an opportunity to see if I can get any lumber out of that. And what it is just a nice white pine tree, and I had sections. It's about 15, 18 inches across, some of the longer ones. Well, I didn't lug those in here, but I did chunk one up out there by the fallen tree into quarters. So check this out. We've got, can you see this down here?
Yep.
We've got 3 of the quarters here. I already played around with one of them, but this I just split in the woods, and just to show you, rather than carry the whole log out of the woods, I was able to take my axe, and it's a splitting axe, but it wasn't enough to split the whole thing. But when I came down on it, I'm not much of a woodsman, actually. I don't. I have chopped up a fair amount of trees, but I learned from someone not long ago to split those really large ones. You don't hit them in the middle. You actually hit them out here on the rim. So just get that axe like just in from the edge. And then once I had a start with it, you know, sometimes you can cut a little groove with a chainsaw. Then I'm going to put my splitting wedge in there, and I just smack that in. This is a piece of apple wood. I don't really want to split it right now, but I did this on the white pine, drove it in about yay far, and it split right across the heart. And then I was able to do the same on the other 2 pieces there and quartered it up. So what was nice about that was if you can split it out like that in the woods, if it's a sizable piece like that, then you can haul it out of there a lot easier. But what you end up with is a classic quarter-sawn potential piece. See, all this grain right here is radial, so I've cut right from the center. Well, this end you can see better. You can see all the growth rings. And look, we're really right through the pith here, just about. And we've got all the growth rings here. So we're coming in quarter-sawn to this face and this face. And this is actually where that term gets its name. in order to get that quarter sawn or short grain cutting across the boards, the logs were quartered like this to get the best yield. It takes more work, it's more labor intensive, and you can't get the big wide boards quite the same. So it is more expensive and time consuming to do this. But if you're just doing it for yourself, why not? And I thought this would be a great opportunity to saw up some boards and stash them away for drawer sides. So this already feels like it's had some good drying. You can see I left it on the ground a little long. It started to get a little bit, actually it's not discolored too much at all. It's not punky, just at the ends a bit. So let's make some boards out of this. Let's make some potential drawer sides that we can pick up maybe in the winter. They'll be ready to go, right? And the beauty is that being quarter sawn like this, I don't have to worry about them cupping much. They're gonna stay pretty flat, and they're gonna make excellent drawer sides because they'll be very stable, and the grain will be, it'll be a nice, clean, linear grain too. They'll be nice looking drawer sides. All right, so to start off with, I might have a little dirt on these ends. I'm just gonna square them off or roughly cut the ends off, and then we'll start cleaning it up a little bit with some much cruder tools than we usually use in the shop, but fun tools to use, and see what we can do here. All right, so let's head over to the bandsaw, way over here, and trim off these ends to start with. All right. Okay, good.
All right, is it hard? Is it hard to cut through knots, Tom?
Yeah, but it is. I mean, I tried, when I saw how clear this was, because it was down more the butt of the tree, look how there's no knots visible at this point. Maybe one will show up. But here we are, we don't have them. Now, this split surprisingly well as far as coming close to being square. Look at this. If I hold the square on there, it's pretty close, right? Little rough though. So what I want to do is just make sure that I've cleaned up a side, and I'm going to skim it over the joiner, but before I do that, I can save some time if we can clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to come down on the bench, and let's see. I don't know if I'm going to catch it here.
Is that a 3/4 inch blade, Tom, on the bandsaw?
I believe it is, yeah. I do think it is. Okay. So now I'm going to just lock this in, and it's going to want to rock a little. So I've got these two little strips. Hopefully I can just jam those under there on each side. I'm going to push it a little more into the bench here. So this is a chance to use one of my favorite, as far as enjoyable tools to work with, and I don't get to too much except when I'm roughing out something, and that's the draw knife. It works a lot like a spoke shave. If you think about it, here's a spoke shave. We've got the knife cutting edge here, but that's controlled. It's got a sole in the front and back. This is just free-form knife, but you do actually have a rest and kind of a guide. The bevel is down, so you can kind of rock on the bevel to feel control. So I just want to try to smooth this out. Can you see the fibers coming off?
Yeah.
So just, it's like using this draw knife almost as a giant plane. Let's just clean this up a little bit. That's actually pretty close to flat right there. So let's flip it around. And we'll clean up this side a little bit. We had the Canterbury Fair last Saturday, and there was some primitive woodworking going on there. So it got me thinking about this and inspired to see what we could do with some of this material. All right, we got kind of a hole here, but we have a lot of material here that will make a nice side. So let's just see. It's kind of hard to hold this on the vise, but see how much fun this is? I mean, you're just holding it. Like if I roll it up on the bevel, nothing's happening. So I just resting on the bevel, I just tip it down. I get this nice kind of, well, I'm just gonna want to pull out of there. Gotta fight it a little bit. Not really set up for this kind of thing. I think I'll do the rest on the joiner. Let's just check it for square. I mean, this is just totally eyeballing it. Look at that. It's pretty darn close, right?
It's crazy.
Close enough. So let's head over to the joiner. I'll just clean it up a little bit and we'll be able to take some slices and see what kind of material we get right out of the backyard. What I'm going to do is just skim. That's not too far off. So I think I'll start with this side.
Did you consider setting up a sled for the table saw, doing it that way?
I did think of the sled idea. Like we have milled material on the bandsaw in a previous Shop Night Live where we called it milling rare logs. Remember that?
I do.
And actually I was cutting apple wood, and I have a different method for that because we were actually cutting the log, a round log. Here we have, a good chunk that we've pre-quartered. So little different approach, but yeah, you would have some sort of, you could use the method I used there to steady the log. If you start out with a log, you can just rip it that way. Or
we can link to that. Hey, Tom, how long is the log now, or this piece right now?
Well, it's really only long enough to get some pretty good drawer sides. Right now, it's just a little under 24. So it's pretty long, but some of the logs out in the woods still, they're pretty long. I was thinking of the backs as well as the sides. So I was cutting them about 42, I think, okay, in case I was going to have chest of drawers. All right, here we go.
Hey, so I asked you how long it was when I should have asked you how wide.
Oh, okay.
Can you try that again?
Well, you can see from the pith, 7.5. So I had about a 15-inch diameter section at this point. So we're gonna get, if we have, look, that's nice and clear, beautiful quarter there. I mean, I should end up with getting some decent 6-inch boards here. I got the old
Yeah, it's very
turn
windy.
off the dust
It's
collector.
very windy in here.
I'm about to turn it on again, but all right. So now we're gonna just set up the saw over. Let's set it at like 5/8. Now, if this were flat sawn wood, we'd have to be worried about it cupping quite a bit as it dries the final way. But this, all being quarter sawn, I know my finished dimension is going to be right about a 1/2 inch. So I can just set this. I can set this at a comfortable 5/8, maybe just a touch over, and we should be fine. Let's see what we get. You like that?
I'm very pleased. It
Okay.
makes perfect sense to me.
So what do we have on here? Thanks for asking. Yeah, we got a 3/4, and I believe it's a 3 teeth per inch. So you want probably no finer than that for this type of thing. Even a 2 teeth per inch works nicely. All right, let's make a few cuts. Now, what I'm gonna do is alternate which edge is on the table. Just looking at the material too, I'm gonna just scope it out. Which surface am I getting the best? And the typical quarter sawn would alternate between sides and just step this way. That way you would get the best yield for the widest material as you went. Rather than just cutting them all across one way, you kind of get into the curvature pretty rapidly. So let's just see what we get here.
Tom, is the blade carbide tipped?
No, this is not a carbide tip blade. This is one of your less expensive variety from Timberwolf. That's what Timberwolf blade. Here we are. Woohoo! Okay, so what you can do is every now and then you can go over to the joiner and make a skim, which I'll do, and then I'll probably get 2 cuts.
So,
All right. That
a
was
little
pretty quick,
curiosity
huh?
here, if you checked for nails or anything.
Oh, no, I didn't. I did not. I do have a metal detector for
Lupe has a
that.
tale of someone running into a bullet in a tree.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah, I think I just, where this tree was, it's pretty kind of remote, like down in a ravine where pretty rough even getting in there. So,
okay, and would your answer to not having a 12-inch joiner, a wide enough joiner, be the sled that you made for the bandsaw?
yeah, I think I would use a sled if you can to pass it by. You're trying to establish flat, so you might spend a little more time with the drawer knife or a plane set pretty heavy. But look at that, we got pretty good yield out of that, and I still got, that's all we have left. So by alternating like that, we got quarter and then we're getting down to the rift here. But out in this area is more the sappy area. So this is more the heart and not as pitchy. But it's actually a little damp still, but not as bad as when I first cut it.
Rich is curious about the feed extension.
Yeah.
Can you just chat a minute about that, or a second or two?
This is just an accessory that you can get with the felder, and a lot of bandsaws you might be able to get this. It's kind of handy because it just can lift off. You can tighten it, but you can use it over here too. So sometimes when you're cutting something wide, it's nice to have that added support right there. But here, it was useful on the outfeed table. Let's see what we got over here at the bench.
I said Rich, I meant Rick. Sorry.
What's that?
That's Rick's question, not Rich's question.
So check it out. We've got some pretty nice quarter-sawn boards. I mean, look at that grain. It's just dead quartered. So this is going to dry and stay relatively flat. And now that we've cut it to this dimension, like we're down to like 5/8, this should dry pretty rapidly now because it's already been pre-seasoned. But if I had caught it a little earlier, I probably wouldn't have this staining out here. But you know what? We've got like 4.5 to the stain in that condition there. So, and then these guys over here are even wider. So we've got a lot of nice boards. And look, this is just 1/4. I did one earlier, and these feel significantly dry. This is from the same log. Check this out. And these are already lightening up. I bet this stuff will be dry in no time. So it would be fun to use it. You know, you could make little shelving, or this could be for utility shelves for the shop, all kinds of stuff. And man, look at this. I've got, oh, this I wanted to show you. This is an example of some drawer sides that I haven't final dressed yet. But a lot of times what I'm doing when I buy it from the mill is I would saw it apart. And this one I did 2 cuts like on the table saw. If you don't have a high bandsaw like that, I ran it through the table saw and from both sides. And then I just bandsawed that small strip out of the middle. And as those sides dried, you can see that they cupped a little bit, but not too much to lose it. You can also see that I laminated on a piece of hard maple, because when I final thickness these sides, these are going to be for a chest of drawers, that shaker chest of drawers. So that'll give extra durability on the bottom as the runner, but we'll have the stable drawer sides. But you know, if I had my choice, I would rather have some nice quarter or rift sawn material like this all the way across. So, you know, if you get lucky and a tree comes down in your yard, just feel it out. What's it best for?
Any sense what the moisture level is?
Let me see.
Don't you have a reader or something?
I think it's like 16%. No, I actually don't have one of those. I've never needed one, really, because I don't mill my own. But you know what? You can tell when this stuff gets down. actually, I like that it's that half inch. It's gonna dry fast. So you could stack it and put it on sticks as well. But I just lean this stuff up and make sure that air is getting all the way around, and it stays pretty darn true. It won't take much cleaning up. And I usually just go for half inch, so we got plenty of extra stock on there.
That's good.
All right.
Very nice.
Well, hey, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. That's the lifeblood of these YouTube channels. That makes it work. Subscribe and share and like and comment and ring the bell. But also check out what we got going on epicwoodworking.com, especially the neighborhood. That's our insiders group.
Awesome.
And we've got a great community over there.
Yeah.
So, hey, I hope you enjoyed that like I did. On behalf of the camera lady and myself, we thank you for hanging out with us for a little bit. We look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. See you next week.